What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Michigan State basketball returned to the Breslin Center against Detroit Mercy on Friday, 6:30 on BTN. Now, Michigan State obviously coming off their second top 15 win of the first 4 games of the season against Kentucky in the Champions Classic on Tuesday at 4-0 on the young season. Detroit Mercy coming in at 1-4 on the year. They had a 32-point loss at Notre Dame, but a 7-point loss at Toledo so far on their schedule. But before we jump into the matchup here real quick, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We'll have more Michigan State basketball content on the channel, so just make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. So let's just jump in. First thing first, obviously, start out at the top with head coach for Detroit Mercy, former Michigan State assistant coach Mark Montgomery, coming back to the Breslin Center in this one. And Detroit Mercy, another guard-heavy production-wise team that we'll be facing here. Started with guard Orlando Lovejoy, leads the team with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. You move down as well. Guard TJ Nadeau, hope I said that right. 12 points, 3 boards, 35% from 3 so far. Guard Aiden Carter as well, 12 points, 5 boards. And listen, their top 7 contributors scoring-wise are guards. That just tell you how deep they run. With their guards, more than likely we'll see some 3-guard rotations. If I had to guess in this one, and they're a decent rebounding team as well for playing the amount of guards that they do. Decent sized, guards. Guards isn't like it was by definition even a decade ago. But, you get the picture. A decent rebounding team for playing small-ish, around 40 rebounds a game, 12 turnovers a game, which was similar to what Kentucky had as well. But they're not off to a hot start from the field. They're about 40% from the field, 24% from 3. Now, for Michigan State, coming off a dominant performance, obviously, 11 threes as well. I think that could be the name of the game. Would like to get some more confidence as a team as a whole, shooting that 3-point ball, both for Michigan State offensively, but also, since that's a strength, or a weakness, should I say, from Mercy, I think kind of forcing them into that. I mean, just suffocating defensively for Michigan State there. We'll get to more of that here in a second. But, for Michigan State on offense, I think wanting to see some more threes. You're back at home in the Breslin Center after making a season high, probably more threes. I know this is probably an over-exaggeration. Seemed like more threes than you've made in every game so far this year that you had, in total, that you had in the game against Kentucky on Tuesday in the Champions Classic, Madison Square Garden. But anyway, would like to see some more confidence continue to grow with that. As I said, going into the Kentucky game, and I thought that we did see it, getting Jackson into better spots. I think he's going to be probably your most consistent, high-volume 3-point shooter. If Kurt Tang and Trey Ford, the way that they were getting up threes in the Kentucky game, if that continues, I think that would be a nice bonus. We just haven't seen it so far. We saw it in the Kentucky game. We saw, some flashes, here and there throughout the, 4 total games, the exhibitions as well. But if that can continue, then yeah, that's fantastic. But I think that's another key for me here too is, getting, a second straight game of the 2-guard position, feeling good for both of them, Trey, Kerr, because as I said, this thing doesn't get easier. I mean, you look at the schedule, next week you got North Carolina, you got the Thanksgiving tournament going down there. You got North Carolina, then you got Duke in about, at this time of recording, like 16 days, something like that, somewhere around there, around 2 weeks from this Saturday. So, this thing doesn't get easier. You need to build more confidence. That's why I think this game is no disrespect to Mercy, Mark Montgomery, like Mark Montgomery a lot, but, this game is a game that you're favored by quite a bit and want to continue to build on good habits that you've had so far this season and that you've seen, improvements on, in that Kentucky game specifically. Repeat that. You want repeatable performances. Not saying you're going to go out there and make 11 threes, shoot 50% from the field, 50% from 3 like you did in the Kentucky game. Not saying you're going to do that every time out, but having another solid performance where you can make, as a team, 7 threes, I think that's, you make 7 threes at a 34% clip like we've been asking, that opens so much for this team, in my opinion. And then you just kind of still move down the suffocating defense for Michigan State. They're up to number 6 in the country, I believe, in adjusted efficiency defense. So just suffocating defense in this one with a team that's struggling from the field. So, defend, rebound, run, yes, mantra of the program. But yeah, forcing them into tough shots and then just getting out, getting that transition game still going. Haven't had crazy numbers on the fast break so far this year, working off memory. But yeah, just, continuing to getting that going, staying solid in the defensive rotations. There still was some watching some highlights of the game back after the fact of Tuesday's game. There was still some getting beat off the dribble. Cohen got beat off the left wing one in the first half. He was able to recover, get that block. That's kind of some of the stuff we saw the Colgate game where had 14 blocks or something in that game. I believe it was. And then, some of that, what we talked about was getting beat at the point of attack so much that you were chasing, and then you're so athletic that you're getting those blocks, and those 14 blocks look really good, but that can't be the case. And we've saw this team lock down and look like that top 8, top 6, whatever right now defensive team that I think they can stay in the country. We've seen them lock down and do that against Arkansas, against Kentucky for the most part as well in both of those games. So you just want to see that continuing on with some good habits in this one. And Michigan State still passing the ball incredibly, led by Jeremy Fears, obviously 13 assists last game, up towards the tops in the country in assists per game is Jeremy. And as a team, number 1 in assist rate is Michigan State so far on the year. And look at Detroit Mercy overall. Bart Torvik has them as the number 309th team in the country, 295th adjusted efficiency offense, 307th adjusted efficiency defense. For Michigan State, 17th overall, 45th adjusted efficiency offense with it, which is trending in the right direction. They were in the 50s so far last time out, and then up to number 6th overall adjusted efficiency defense. So that keeps moving up from 8 to 6. Bart Torvik has this as a 91-60 Michigan State win. Now, as I said, a lot of this is a continued confidence builder game, handle business, keep the good, rotations flow defensively, get some stuff going offensively, working out in that half court stuff. We've seen what Jax has been able to do in the post, and we saw them Kentucky game double him for a while, but then hey, when the shots are going down, you can't double Jax as much, and that's when he's eating with his footwork, getting to the basket, getting to the little fadeaways, getting to the little jump hooks, up and unders, whatnot. From there, and with them being a guard heavy team, would like to see that. Would like to see Jesse McCullough possibly, in that same kind of mold, getting some looks there. But anyway, looking forward to this game as it's the last one for about 2 weeks in the Breslin Center. As head out for the Thanksgiving tournament next week. Obviously, East Carolina on Tuesday, and then on Thanksgiving against UNC. Obviously, and then after that, you come back home for Iowa. Your one Big Ten home game in December, and then you got Duke. That's Saturday the 6th. So a lot of stuff coming up here for Michigan State, but first things first, got to handle this Detroit Mercy game. So we'll be back after the game, obviously, with a recap for this one. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.